Hello and welcome class 8. Hope you all are good and safe at your home. We were doing chapter 3 ruling the countryside. We have already covered certain topics like various revenue settlement system and the production of various crops for the European countries, and mainly what we are going to study further about one special crop, that is indigo. We already know that indigo was a crop which was highly demanded in the international markets at that time because it used to give a rich blue color that was used as a cloth dye. And we also know that various businessmen were attracted towards the profits earned by the indigo production. So they came to our country and became planters. The next topic which we are going to do is how was indigo cultivated. There were two main systems of indigo cultivation. First system was Nij cultivation and the other was Rayoti cultivation. Nij cultivation, as the name suggests, Nij. In Hindi, Nij ka matlab apna. So the planter produced indigo in the plant he directly controlled. जो कल्टीवेशन प्लांटर अपनी लैंड पे करता है दैट इज कॉल्ड निज कल्टीवेशन. And Rayoti cultivation, the planter gave contracts to rayots. In earlier lectures also, I have told you rayots means farmers. So the planter gave in Rayoti cultivation, the planter gave contracts to farmers to cultivate indigo. The planter do not cultivate indigo themselves. We are going to study both of these methods in detail. The first is Nij cultivation. Within this cultivation, the planter produced indigo in the lands he directly controlled. He either bought the land or rent it from other zamindars and produced indigo by directly employing hired laborers. In this system, the planters have full right on the production of the land, and they give salaries to the hired laborers. This method had problems. The planters found it difficult to expand the area under niche cultivation. It was not very easy to expand more and more area. Indigo could be cultivated on the fertile lands, and these lands were already densely populated. So many people used to live on these lands. So it was very difficult to displace all those persons. One more major issue was that the time of rice cultivation and the indigo cultivation was approximately the same. When labor was needed for the indigo cultivation, they were already busy with their rice cultivation, as rice was the staple, the basic diet of our food. And this cultivation also required many plows and bullocks. Plow is an instrument which is used for plowing the field. So at the time of indigo cultivation, the plows and bullocks were already busy with the rice cultivation. So for planters, investing on purchase and maintenance of plows was again a big problem. So because of all these problems, many planters preferred to adopt another system, that is Rayoti cultivation. Under this system, the planters, the Britishers, forced the Rayots to sign a contract, an agreement called Satta. Now farmers will sign a contract, an agreement with planters. Planters allot the lands to farmers and they gave cash advances, or we can say loans, to rayots, to farmers, to grow indigo. The loans were provided at cheap rate of interest, and along with the loan, the planter provided the seed and the drill, meaning the equipments required for the indigo production. While all the work, the cultivators prepared the soil, sowed the seed and looked after the crop. And they finally sell their crop to planters. When the crop was delivered to the planter after the harvest, a new loan was given to the Rayot, and cycle started all over again. Initially, the farmer was very happy that they were getting loans, but soon they realized that they are not left with anything. They are taking loans, they are doing so much hard work in the production of indigo, but at the end, when they are giving crops to planters, they were not left with anything. They realized that they were not earning anything, they were just working for the British. They initially tempted by the loans, attracted by the loans, and they soon realized that how harsh the system was. And therefore, they faced various problems. First, the price they got for the indigo they produced was very low, and the cycle of loans never ended. The planter usually insisted that indigo could be cultivated on the best soils in which peasants prefer to cultivate rice. See, children, rice is the basic diet, basic food for our people. So it is more important to cultivate rice rather than to cultivate indigo. But planters had to see their own profits. They forced the farmers to cultivate only indigo. They were not bothered about the requirements of the people. And moreover, very important thing, indigo production had deep roots and it exhausted the soil rapidly because it is a color. And once the indigo production is done on a particular soil, we have to leave the soil for long time so that it can be again sown with rice. And in some areas, after an indigo harvest, the land could not be sown with rice. So it was a big loss to our people. So whatever the production of indigo was there, it was not for us, it was not for our country people, but just for the motive of profit, and that profit was also going to just British people. So they ruined the life of farmers, many families, and it also resulted in a situation where people were dying because of hunger. They were not having enough food to eat. And the result was rebellion. Rebellion because it was against the indigo production, so it was called Blue Rebellion. In rebellion, many people come together and raise their voice against something. So here, farmers, zamindars, local headmen, they came together and they opposed the production of indigo. So let's see how it started. In March 1859, thousands of Rayots in Bengal refused to grow indigo. They got together and they decided that they will not produce indigo as the system was very harsh. Rayots refused to pay the rents to the planters and attacked indigo factories. They refused to pay the rents. They said that they will not pay the rents to planters, and they attacked indigo factory where the indigo was processed and sent to their own country. They were armed with swords and spears. They were having weapons with them, bows and arrows. Women turned up to fight with pots, pans and kitchen implements. So even the family members rose together against a common problem. Not only this, in addition, those who worked for the planters were socially boycotted. The persons who worked for the planters, who worked for Britishers, they were socially boycotted. And the agents of planters, they were called Gomasthas, who came up to collect the rent, were beaten up. They were beaten up when they came and they asked for the rent. Rayots swore that they would no longer take advances. They swore that they will not take cash advances from planters to sow indigo. and they will not be bullied by the planters, Lathials. Lathials were the lathi wielding strong men maintained by planters. They were strong men, like tall, strong men who had lathis in their hand, and they were maintained by planters. So sometimes Lathials came to harass the farmers that you have to do this. But they decided that they will not be bullied by the planters, Lathials. I hope you can understand the aggression of the farmers. You can understand the extent of opposition, that they were not at all ready to grow indigo, and they were all ready together to fight for this harsh system. And you are able to answer these questions. Why did the indigo peasant decide that they would no longer remain silent? What was the force that were coming up? And what gave them the power to rebel? When something happening with you is so oppressing means something is pushing you and you're not getting anything out of it. You are just working and you're not getting anything. You are harming your soils. You're not able to eat anything. So what gave you power for rebel? These all problems. Clearly, the indigo system was intensely oppressive. And this intensity of oppression only forced the indigo peasants that they decided they would no longer remain silent and they will take action. In this rebellion against the indigo planters, peasants had the support of zamindars and village headmen. In many villages, headmen who had been forced to sign indigo contracts fought pitched battle with Lathials. In other places, even the zamindar went around villages urging the ryots to resist the planters, to speak up against the planters. Now, very important thing, the peasants who grew indigo, they had the support of British government. There were British officials who came to our country and they started ruling our country and they adopted very wrong practices. But the British government who was sitting in Britain, they were not having bad intentions towards us. Undoubtedly, they came here for the purpose of trade and they wanted good trade with us. But over the period of time and gradually what happened, they started ruling our country. They took wrong actions and steps. So as the news of rebellion went or reached to Britain, then Lieutenant Governor Ashley Eden toured the region. He looked into the matter and observed all the practices of indigo planters, and he decided and issued a notice stating that the ryots would not be compelled to accept indigo contracts. This is very important. It was in the favor of indigo peasants, the peasants who were forced to grow indigo, that the ryots would not be compelled to accept indigo contracts. And Queen Victoria also had declared that indigo need not to be sown. All the decisions taken by the British government were in the favor of peasants. And after this, the Indigo Commission was set up to inquire into the system of indigo production. The commission held the planters guilty. Now, what does this sentence means? The Indigo Commission, which was set up, it said that the planters, the British who used to force the cultivators to grow indigo, they were wrong, and they criticized them for the harsh actions taken against cultivators. The commission declared that the indigo production was not at all profitable for ryots, so they were not compelled to do that. So they asked the ryots to fulfill their existing contracts and they can deny the contracts in future. And after this, the revolt came to an end. And after this revolt, indigo production collapsed in Bengal. However, over a period of time, with the discovery of synthetic dyes in the late 19th century, affected their business a lot. The story didn't end there. The planters, the British officials who forced the ryots to cultivate indigo, they shifted their operations from Bengal to Bihar. Now in Bihar, they started those all indigo production practices all over again. And when Mahatma Gandhi returned from South Africa, a peasant from Bihar persuaded or forced him to visit Champaran. Champaran is in Bihar, and in Champaran district, the cultivators, the farmers were forced to grow indigo. And they were facing same problems which were faced by the cultivators of Bengal. And Mahatma Gandhi began the Champaran movement. What was Champaran movement? The movement against the indigo planters in Champaran. He supported the peasants against the indigo production. With this, I am ending the video here. Please read the chapter from book. It is very, very important, and complete the question answers in your FAIR notebook. Thank you.